Well, to talk more about the current state of the auto industry in the US, I'm joined by Ryan McManus. He's CEO of Share, a scheduled ride-sharing service based in Columbus, Ohio. Thank you for joining us.
Good to be here.
So let's start with Tesla earnings and first quarter results. Any surprises there for you?
No, I mean, we all know that Tesla's embarking on a pretty ambitious project with the Model 3, and they're ramping up. And if you look at their cash flow in the past, after they introduce a new model, within a quarter, they're getting back to cash flow positivity. And so, you know, it's just a down quarter maybe on a cash flow perspective, but they're investing in manufacturing capacity that's going to give them an edge, especially as gas prices are starting to go up and the other automakers are starting to take electrification seriously.
Now, Tesla's interesting because despite the amount of cash that it's going through and the lack of profit, investors are still optimistic about the company. Why is that, and how long do you think that will last?
I think investors are betting on Elon Musk. He's the guy with the big vision. They've given him a huge compensation plan where he has to deliver in order to get it. And people believe that Elon is going to be the guy to make electric vehicles mainstream. And I think what you should be really watching is how this battery technology and their manufacturing capacity of batteries is going to be able to impact other automakers. That's if they decide they want to work with Tesla.
Now, something else that might affect more automakers, of course, the NAFTA negotiations, which involve the US, Mexico, and Canada. Now, they appear to be nearing an end as they try and secure a deal ahead of the Mexican presidential elections this year. But what impact is all this having on the auto industry?
Well, in the short term, it's creating some uncertainty because the automakers aren't going to invest in manufacturing plants outside of the U.S. if they don't know what the policies are going to be 5 years from now. But in the short term, it's probably not having a huge impact on the auto industry other than just some uncertainty in how to invest 5 years from now.
And what about what car makers are seeing when they have the world's largest auto markets, China and the U.S., stuck in a trade dispute? How does that affect their strategy?
Well, you know, I think a lot of automakers are thinking about how their formats of vehicles are going to be able to be used in the Chinese market. I think it probably affects our ability to sell them goods and hurts us because of the large number of products that we're getting from the Tier 1, Tier 2 suppliers. Even if the automakers are putting their vehicles together, they're getting supplies from all around the world, and a lot of those are coming from China. It's absolutely going to hurt the auto industry.
Now, let's also look at some of the trends that you're seeing in terms of auto sales globally. Which companies are dominating and which ones are having to readjust?
Well, I think overall, all of the automakers are having to readjust. That they're looking at their fleet size, the types of vehicles that they're making, and looking at the buying trends of new consumers. You know, young people aren't buying vehicles at the same rates, even though gross vehicle sales are up. Automakers are looking ahead 5 to 10 years to new business models, and you know, Ford's announcement with this quarter about how 90% of vehicles will eventually be purchased through businesses and not sold to consumers, that's a major signal to the market that shows that individuals aren't going to be buying cars in the future. They're going to be subscribing to them, and they're going to be sharing them a lot more.
Now, a lot of countries are trying to push for cleaner models, but we saw that 18 states, led by California, are suing the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency for rolling back former President Barack Obama's vehicle emissions and economy standards. What's at stake here for U.S. car makers?
Well, the U.S. car makers have to plan 5 to 7 years ahead. And so the cars that are going to be coming out in 2022 are the ones that were impacted by Obama's policy. And hopefully the states are able to keep these regulations in place to increase the mile per gallon requirements and the efficiency standards of these vehicles. Because if there's not a stick that's going to penalize the automakers, they're just going to keep making the same vehicle. And ultimately that hurts our cities, it hurts our environment. It's just negative for us all around.
Now, as we look ahead, we saw that 30 car giants, including BMW, Volkswagen, and Ford and GM, they've launched this new joint blockchain research group. So how do you see blockchain and other innovations developing the auto industry as it tries to innovate?
Yeah, I think like a lot of industries, blockchain is in the experimental phase, and we're all really excited about what the potential could be, but it's not yet at a point where we're implementing it at scale. I think blockchain is going to do some really great things when it comes to shared mobility and helping the automakers work with service providers and cities to make these vehicles that you don't own more trusted. And that's the real promise of the blockchain, is that it's this untamperable record that can prove that, say, a vehicle maintenance was done properly. There could be some really exciting things to come, but an automaker consortium like this is probably just for experiment, and everybody's just watching each other.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Ryan McManus there, CEO at Share.